विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम ओम। Here today is Sugama. we have clearly understood with the help of the Bhashya that Adhyasa is avidya. Bhashyakara's open statement is there which says that Adhyaso avidya tametam evan lakshanam adhyasam panditaha avidya iti manyante avidya ityahuhu avidya iti manyante. The Vedantic experts call this Adhyasa alone as avidya. So Adhyaso avidya is repeatedly stated all over the Prasthanatrayi Bhashya, and it is more elaborately discussed in Mula Vidya Nirasa, which we were discussing in Bengaluru Karyalaya. Partly we discussed and more will come, I don't know, whenever the classes begin again. So Adhyasa is the avidya. So avidya is not a something substance. Avidya is not something material. Avidya is only a misunderstanding. So when there is a misunderstanding, naturally when you don't know the reality, when you misunderstand something, you don't know the reality. Therefore that not knowing is not something different from Adhyasa. Not knowing is only wrongly knowing. They are just two sides of the same kind, two way of telling. One is you misunderstand, another is when you misunderstand you don't understand it as it is. So non-understanding and misunderstanding are two ways of expressing the same fact. Okay. Therefore Adhyasa alone is the avidya here, and throughout Shankaracharya is telling the same thing. Now they say, as we have been discussing, Adhyasa is not only a wrong knowledge but also a wrong object according to them. According to some Vedantin, the post Shankarites who say that Adhyasa is not only wrong knowledge but also a wrong object. But what is wrong object? Nobody can imagine. Wrong object is a product of this a material avidya. A material avidya produces an object avidya, and also wrong knowledge and wrong object. So this is the peculiar method of teaching, because if avidya is a material and jnanam can't remove it, this becomes the biggest problem. The way of presenting understanding is always a problem. So okay, there are two Purapakshas regarding this. Now when Bhashyakara openly stated that Adhyaso is avidya, they hold an opinion that there is a causal avidya alone is avidya. Adhyasa is an avidya because it is a product of avidya at a later stage, that is called avidya. Originally causal avidya alone is avidya. This is their stand. Their stand, I repeat, their stand is causal avidya is avidya and Adhyasa is a product of it. Since it is a product, this also can be stated as avidya in a secondary sense. So the question comes, why Bhashyakara is referring to that secondary avidya, leaving out the primary avidya, the primary ignorance? See, is it not a wonder that the main topic of avidya, the introduction to, the preface to Sutra Bhashya, preface to Brahma Sutra Bhashya, he has to discuss avidya. Now this is the context where he has to discuss what is avidya. Because this Shankaracharya says avidya is the samsara karanam, and therefore he is discussing avidya here. And the topic, and it is a section, it is a portion where he is discussing avidya. When you take the name of avidya and discussing avidya alone, if there itself you don't mention the so-called avidya and something secondary avidya you mention, can you call it as an explanation? See, when you go to doctor generally diagnoses your disease and prescribes the medicine. And you supposing if you discuss neither symptoms of the disease nor the medicine nor any other thing, you discuss some official discussions, and then do you call it something a secondary thing about a pharmaceutical medical shop and all those details? Do you call that is the main treatment? If in the context of avidya, where avidya is specifically discussed about, if there itself is avidya is not discussed and the secondary avidya is discussed and the so-called primary avidya is never discussed at all, can you accept that Shankara can do like that? Now I am going to discuss avidya. Avidya is the cause of it, because Vedanta starts that Brahma Vichara, Brahma Jnanam alone is the moksha sadhanam. Brahma Jnanam becomes moksha sadhanam. Brahma Jnanam, the knowledge of Brahman, constitutes the sadhanam for moksha only if Ajnanam is the cause of samsara. If Ajnanam is the cause of samsara, so this is where, as an introduction to the first sutra, Ajnanam has to discuss. If here Shankara doesn't discuss Ajnanam, where else he will discuss? See? Where else you discuss? Because this is the main topic, because Brahma Jnanam, he is starting with Brahma Jnanam, Brahma Vichara. Brahma Vichara, Brahma Jnanam alone removes your samsara and fetches you moksha and gets you moksha. And then, therefore, then avidya is the only obstruction for moksha, and Jnanam alone can remove it. This is the point in the first sutra. Then we have to discuss where is avidya, what is avidya. Therefore, Adhyasa Bhashya is the only place and the main context where avidya has to be discussed. If here avidya is not discussed and a secondary avidya is stated here, in the entire Adhyasa Bhashya, the so-called primary avidya, which the post-Shankarites have twisted and tried to see some avidya here, it is not at all touched even remotely. He directly says Adhyasa is avidya, Adhyasa is he discusses avidya and calls Adhyasa is avidya, and again says Adhyasa is avidya. At the end says, to remove this avidya alone, Vedanta is beginning. Now he starts with avidya, discusses Adhyasa, calls it as avidya. At the end he says, only to remove this avidya alone, Brahmajnana begins. Now he is very clear that Adhyasa alone is avidya. He is orally, he in his own words he is telling clearly Adhyasa is avidya, and this avidya, this Adhyasa of this nature, this description is avidya. This alone is going to be removed. Everything is so clear. If in Adhyasa Bhashya, which is an avidya Bhashya actually, and in this context, if you don't discuss avidya, where else you discuss? And he says, what is discussed here is not main avidya at all. That means in the entire Adhyasa Bhashya, their avidya, the real avidya which they talk, which the post-Shankarites talk of, the real avidya is not at all discussed. What they call as a real avidya is never even touched remotely here. As unmindful of that avidya, he says Adhyasa is avidya. Now a suspicion comes, did Shankara has any other thing as an avidya other than Adhyasa? Shankara very clearly says Adhyasa is avidya. But they say that they are finding it very difficult. Shankaracharya is discussing here only secondary avidya, not the real avidya. The effect of, after effect of avidya he is discussing, not the main root cause which is avidya. They say, but the root cause, where is it? Though it is not stated, it must be assumed. Now this has changed the whole Vedanta. In the context of adhyasa, in the context of avidya, if avidya is not discussed, something else is discussed secondarily, and the main thing is totally blocked out, and they say it is told elsewhere. Where else elsewhere? If you look for the entire Prasthanatraya Bhashya, you don't find it. Where some sentence which looks suited to their idea, there they say, this is where avidya is stated. But the context which they take, in the first chapter, third pada, Anumanik Adhikaranam is an Adhikaranam. There Maya is discussed there. Prakriti or Maya is discussed. They take, that is the main context where Shankaracharya is discussing avidya. But the whole topic is different. There he is not discussing avidya for sake of avidya. He has not taken avidya as a main topic and discussing it. He is discussing something else. In the passing he touches it. In the passing he calls Maya is also avidya. That's all. So when he is, see, this is what we called tatpara atatpara. This is a method of interpreting any text, either Vedic text or Shankara Bhashya or anything. This is called a method of interpreting. What is that method? Now there is one topic. When you have taken up a topic, there alone the topic should be cleared. That means that is a main topic, that is a purposely, intentionally you are discussing. Tatpara means you want to discuss the topic as a main issue. That alone is the main topic. Where a particular issue is the main, there alone it will be discussed. But other areas also this may be touched, but it is a passingly you touch it. Avidya is touched upon elsewhere, but it is passingly touched it. Now there are two contexts. One is the main context of discussing avidya, main context where avidya is mainly discussed, taking it as a topic of the context. Another is avidya is touched passingly while discussing something else. There the something else is the main topic and avidya is on the way. But here avidya is the main topic, aiming avidya alone, the discussion is going on here. This is called, where you aim the same topic, that is called tatpara. Where atatpara means where something else you are discussing and it is on the way, you touch something, then it is only called atatpara. Tatpara, atatpara. Now in Adhyasa Bhashya is meant to discuss avidya. This is the topic, this is the place where you must say what is avidya. And Shankara says we are discussing that only, avidya alone we are discussing. At the end he says, only to remove this avidya alone, Vedanta Vichara is done and Brahmagnanam is gained only to remove this avidya. What is this? When he says only to remove this avidya, he is telling clearly adhyasa. So the main topic, the aimed topic, the aimed topic is avidya. What is that avidya? He says throughout as an adhyasa. And the other one which is an out of context where something else is discussed during that process, this avidya is also touched. There he says Maya is an avidya. But is there, then the right way of interpreting is where it is a main topic, there alone whatever is discussed, that should be taken as the real interpretation, real explanation of avidya, real nature of avidya. Where it is discussed passingly, then that is not the main topic, that is passingly secondary topic. Therefore here Purvapakshis say that adhyasa is called avidya, no doubt, but Shankaracharya doesn't mean it. When Shankaracharya is openly telling through his mouth that adhyasa is avidya, these people say no, though Shankara said it, but he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. Then what he means it? He means there is a cause. Where is it? He never even gives an indirect hint also. Shankaracharya doesn't give even indirect hint to say that there is a cause of avidya, cause of adhyasa. Cause of adhyasa, he doesn't even indirectly say, and that is the original avidya, which is the cause of adhyasa I am discussing. He says he is keeping to adhyasa. He discusses adhyasa, calls it avidya, and this alone will be removed by jnanam. That's all. He doesn't go something beyond adhyasa and say there is something real avidya. No, not even indirect hint to that. But these people say, no, Shankara here doesn't mean real Adhyasa. He is talking a product of avidya. He doesn't mean real avidya. He is talking here product of avidya. There is a causal avidya. Though Shankaracharya has not stated, we have to assume that he has stated here. Or somebody told that Padmapada was a direct disciple of Shankara. Therefore, what he did not write in Adhyasa Bhashya, he told directly his disciple personally. When he is writing a book, why should he skip the most important topic? Why should he skip the most important point where he promises that I am discussing avidya and starts about it and discusses something else and tells what he skipped there personally to his disciple? This doesn't look likely. This explanation doesn't seem likely. In fact, Shankaracharya never leaves out any idea. One of the scholars who defends Mula Vidya, he says that yes, Adhyasa Bhashya Shankara did not teach Mula Vidya. They openly say Shankaracharya did not touch causal avidya in Adhyasa Bhashya. Not only here, in fact, in entire Adhyasa Bhashya, in entire Prasthanatrayi Bhashya, he did not discuss. Yes, we admit that Shankara did not discuss, but yet we have to assume that Shankara has implied it. He had it in his mind, though he did not state it. Now you keep on imposing your view, though Shankara did not say. This is an argument. These days people start using it. There should be a convincing reason why such an important, most essential point, starting with avidya, where you have to discuss avidya, there alone you don't discuss it, and people imagine that he must have stated it or he has it in his mind, though he did not say it. So this explanation is a far-fetched and unconvincing. It doesn't look right. Some people attribute lot of ideas to Jesus. Oh, Jesus taught Advaita. Jesus did not teach that Christianity alone, Jesus alone has to be believed. He did not say that. He talked like Hinduism alone, all yoga, Vedanta, everything he talked. Then why don't you find a single statement about Vedanta in Bible? He says, no, he had it in mind, but he did not teach. Now, how do you know that? Did he come and tell you? Did he come and tell you that he did not write it in Bible, but he told? Whom did he tell? Is there a single teacher, single student where you find Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta is taught? So this kind of a thing, it is a far-fetched imagination. This is a more emotion than Vedanta. Okay. In fact, somebody called it as a pseudo-Vedanta. Rini Gwenon called him a pseudo-Vedanta. So, this is a very peculiar, where you have to say, he told many other things in details, but what such an important thing, why should he skip? And discuss many other secondary details, many other details, but the main essential point alone you don't touch it. And can you believe that he did like that? And that's what they say, and they ask us to believe that, yes, they are right. That Shankara willingly or whatever reason, he did not touch the most important point. He skipped it. Nowhere in the Prasthanatrayi he touched it. Yet we have to believe. If this way you believe it, you can put anything in somebody's mouth. Anything you can put in anybody's mouth, and anybody can be called as anything. Oh, anybody can be called anything. Anybody can be described as any great scholar. People imagine lot of rumors. So because they have a very petty idea of Mula Vidya, so to defend, to justify their own petty concept of Mula Vidya, they impose on Shankara. They don't mind telling that Shankara skipped. Shankara did not deal with the most important point in Vedanta. If there is a Mula Vidya, according to them, they say there is a Mula Vidya. If there is a Mula Vidya, if there is a real avidya, then why Shankara skipped the real avidya and did not talk about it, where he promises that I'll discuss avidya and then he doesn't discuss, and tell this to somebody personally? This is all far-fetched, their own explanation to defend, to justify their own imagination, their own. They are trying to read what doesn't exist in Shankara's words. They are trying to read unwarranted extra meaning into it, and which looks far-fetched. When openly Shankara says Adhyasa is avidya over, and throughout he has been talking mithya jnana, mithya pratyaya, mithya jnana, wrong knowledge. Has been throughout in Prasthanatrayi Bhashya. Viparita jnanam, viparya jnanam, mithya jnanam, anyatha jnanam, misunderstanding, wrong knowledge. Alone is avidya, adhyasa. That alone is avidya throughout Prasthanatrayi Bhashya. It looks so clear and convincing, and their explanation is too far-fetched. And our explanation that adhyasa is avidya, take what Shankara says directly. It is very convincing, straight, simple, and it looks right. Shankaracharya, who discusses many things in details, you can say that like Gaudapadacharya, he is very brief. He is not brief. He discusses elaborately in Sutra Bhashya, in Brihadaranyaka Bhashya. Pages he spends. Such a person who discussed so elaborately many other things, could he not discuss this point also? If there were Mula Vidya, he would have stated. But nowhere he has stated. Therefore, the imposition of post-Shankarites upon Shankaras, some view, a petty view of them, is unwarranted and unacceptable. Therefore, Mula Vidya is the cause of Adhyasa. It is a material substance sticking to the Atman which produces the world. All this is just unacceptable. Okay. So, somebody's far-fetched explanation, first explanation we have analyzed and found that this is not acceptable. So, there are two schools developed, evolved from Shankara's Bhashya. In Advaita, in the Advaita tradition, mainly the two schools have evolved. People say there are more also. Even in the name of Buddha, there are many schools have evolved. Shall I tell you one interesting thing? It looks very strange for us. Shankaracharya criticizing Buddha, directly taking his name, Sugataha he calls it. In Sutra Bhashya, at one point he says, Sugata, that is Buddha, because Sugata name, there is a name Sugata for Buddha also. Sarvajna Sugato Buddhaha, Amarakosha says. Sarvajnaha, Sugataha, Buddhaha, Shuddhodanaha, Gautamaha, Siddharthaha, these are all the various names of Buddha. Okay. Marajit, Maralochanaha, Marajit, who won over, who defeated the Mara, is Maya, what you call Maya Devi Putraha. These are the names of Buddha. Generally Gautama, they call them Gautama, Siddhartha, Buddha. These are the three names commonly used. Sometimes Sugata is also. Okay, Shankaracharya says, this is, see, very interesting thing. It's not a directly Vedanta, but some interesting observation. You see, you listen to me. Shankaracharya criticizing Buddhism in Sutra Bhashya, in the second chapter, second pada. He discusses various other schools, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and etc. There he discusses Buddhist schools. One is a Kshanika Vijnanavada, another is Shunyavada. No, in fact, a third one is there, Yogachara. So, Yogachara Sutrantika, he dismisses the Bhashya Satyatva-vadinaha. Buddha taught the external world is there, really there. And that means the idealist and realist. Those who believe the Bhashya Satyatva-vadinaha can be called as realists. Realist means the world is really existing. Even if I don't experience, the world exists. Like, even if I don't dream, the dream world exists. This is called Bhashya Satyatva-vadinaha. The world independently exists as really. The world independently and really exists. This is Bhashya Satyatva-vadi. Second is Kshanika Vijnanavadi. They say everything is only mental construct. The world is not there. It is only Jiva is imagining the world. Otherwise, there is no world. So they are called idealists. Idealist means what? Only manak kalpita. Mind alone is the world. There is no world outside independent of you. So first is Bhashya Satyatva-vadinaha. Second is Vijnana-vadinaha. Third is Shunya-vadinaha. There are many more schools, but all these schools are reduced into 3. Shankaracharya reduces them, all these into 3, and then discusses. And here he says, Buddha, if he wants to teach people, he should have a clear-cut teaching of what he wants to teach. But people claim there are many followers of Buddha, and each one claims this is the teaching of Buddha. One Bhashya Satyatvavadi realist claims that this is the teaching of Buddha. Another fellow says that Kshanika Vijnanam, idealism. Idealism means the world is nothing but a thought of mind. World is nothing but a thought of mind. This is another school. And third school says that there is everything is shunyam, nothing is there. Now if Buddha wanted to teach, Shankaracharya's objection is, criticism is, if Buddha wanted to teach, he should have taught something clearly, systematically. Why did he teach different philosophies to different disciples and made them to quarrel like that? Therefore, Buddha is insincere in his teaching. Something is wrong with his teaching. He spoiled the people by teaching contradictory teachings in various schools. This is what Shankaracharya says. How can you have multiple views and do not say one thing clearly? Ekavakyata there should be there. But if Buddha didn't teach Ekavakyata, means one teaching, you see among the Buddhists also there are a number of schools, and one school rejects other school. Criticizes, writes books, you know that? They write a book, criticize. One school rejects the other schools. And all of them claim that their teaching alone is a Buddha's teaching. If you read Buddhism, you are so confused, you will be so thoroughly confused. Because of these views, contradictory views of people. So, here, I am referring to only Shankaracharya's criticism of Buddha. What does he criticize? He says, there should be one uniform teaching. Why he taught different philosophies to different people and made them to quarrel among themselves? There is a heated arguments within the various schools of Buddhism, do you know? And our Britishers have created that Buddhism versus Vedic religion. Vedic religion, they called it Brahmanism. See, they gave a peculiar name, Brahmanism, and Vedic religion, and Buddhist religion and Brahmanism. So Vedic religion or Vedika Dharma, they called it as Brahmanism. See, the Indologist created a name. And they say, Buddha taught many things to many people. Why did he not harmonize all his teachings? Why he taught each one thing, and so that people get confused? Shankaracharya says, by teaching indiscriminately different teachings to different people without harmonizing it, since Buddha taught it, it shows that he is confusing people. Either he may be intentionally, unintentionally. He may be consciously, he may have a conscious intention to mislead people, or he may not have an intention, but unconsciously he ended up misleading people by teaching different schools and making them to quarrel among themselves. Now the Western Indologist, Britishers, what they treated is only there was a quarrel means there was an argument, heated debates and discussion between Buddhism and Vedic religion. Therefore, they present all Buddhists are one school alone, and they debated with Vedic religion. All Vedic religions are one school. See, this is how they present, because they want to mislead, misinterpret. They want to misrepresent, and even now all our academicians talk like this alone. All our academicians, even now they talk the same way. Buddha created a great religion, and it is only, they say that Buddha he created a new religion, founded a new religion, Vedikas opposed them. Therefore, they want to blame the Hindus, Vedikas, they have destroyed Buddhism. Ultimately, this is what they want. For this, they don't mind creating any number of lies in the name of great research, only eating away Indians' money and writing ill of India and against India, writing lies, and make only us to read. and for the books to be published, only Indian money, government spent all the money. And the research scholar Max Muller has been lakhs and lakhs and dollars were given in those days. So much of money. If you go by the present day, hundreds of crores it has given. If you go by the present day calculations, hundreds of crores it has given to Max Muller. Why so much of Hindu money is given for Max Muller to write against Hinduism? That is a greatness. They say we are doing research and do all those things. What is this nonsense research? You write openly lies. Open lies you write. Sponsor the lies by spending Indian money, lakhs and lakhs of money, crores of money you spend India, and you make the Indians suffer under poverty, and they will just live comfortably by telling lies. They get lot of money for telling lies about India. Okay, double advantage. You can destroy Hinduism and propagate Christianity, and you get lot of money. What a great idea. For asuras, anything is a great idea, isn't it? This Max Muller and all the fellows are asuras. And however Vivekananda explained him, described him as a Rishi, German Rishi, Sayanacharya, Avatara, all that. However criticizes, looks like only asura to me. Because see the way they do it. Anyway, so what I want to say is, they try to present all Buddhism is only one school. Only Vaidikas opposed it. Out of selfishness, Vaidikas opposed Buddhism. See how they interpret these Vindologists. But Vaidikas criticized Buddhism because Buddhism also criticized Vaidika religion, and also it has got its own philosophy. And when you find fault with it, when there is a healthy debate, healthy discussion, whatever mistakes were there, and Vaidikas pointed out. When they pointed out the mistakes, common man has understood and ditched the way and gave up Buddhism. What else can they do? When we held a healthy debate and found fault with Buddha, why should they criticize us for doing that? Therefore, Shankaracharya says Buddha should have taught one philosophy, or if he had taught different levels of philosophy, he should have harmonized them. Since he did not know, it shows that Buddha wants to intentionally confuse people, or unintentionally he just ended up like that by confusing the people, made them to quarrel among themselves. So many schools have developed. Within Buddhism there are so many schools. Common man just can't talk what is Buddhism unless you know it thoroughly. Shankaracharya criticizes Sugata is only confusing people. Praja Pradveshova, or maybe that he hates people, he hates humanity, so that let them be confused and go to dogs. Let them be confused and go to dogs. Therefore, Buddha either intentionally or unconsciously has misled the people. Therefore, those who want real truth and also want to attain moksha and live happily, and such people should ignore Buddha's teaching. This is what Shankara's comment. Now, what is the point of criticism of Shankaracharya against Buddhism? He says there is a multiple teachings of Buddha which are contradicting to each other, and people are quarreling over those points. This is Shankaracharya's objection. I told you there is something interesting. Now the interesting follows. You see what Shankara criticized about Buddhists having many schools and many philosophies, all contradictory philosophies in the name of Buddha. If there are so many contradictory philosophies in the name of Buddha, then Buddha is a one person. He must have told something. Then what could be the real meaning of the book? What could be the real meaning of Buddha's teaching when he taught many things? So, now unfortunately what happened is, in the Shankara's teaching also, there are many schools have evolved, like this is my point. Many schools have evolved, like mainly two. Panchapadika, and that is a Vivarana school, belongs to Panchapadika, and Bhamati school. Bhamati school and Vivarana school, they differ on certain points and quarrel among themselves. Now seeing this, what happens? Whatever criticism Shankara made against Buddha, the same thing applies to Shankara himself. In the hands of Shankara, in the hands of his followers, has become a multi-tongued. Shankara doesn't have the one uniform teaching. There are multi-tongued, multi-level teaching, and nobody is bothering. If Shankara criticized Buddha for teaching different philosophies contradicting to each other, what was Buddha's intention? Shankara imagines Buddha's intention that let people get confused. Therefore, Buddha taught, Sugata taught certain contradictory teachings. Okay. This is very unfortunate. It looks very odd, very strange. When Shankara criticized Buddha for teaching too many things and without harmonizing them, if that is the defect, which attracts, which legitimizes criticism of Buddha. See, Shankara criticized Buddha, so that attracts criticism of Buddha, that legitimizes criticism of Buddha. If that is the reason, the same thing happened, the fate of Shankara in the hands of his followers. Whatever Shankara criticized against Buddha, the same thing applies to Shankara himself. Unfortunately, it has become like that because in the name of Shankara, many schools have appeared. They differ with each other. They debate, argue, reject each other. If that is the case, the same criticism of Buddha applies to Shankara also. Then what should we do? We should give up these internal differences and have a common prakriya which is acceptable to all the followers of Advaita. Instead of doing that, they created a criticism of each other. That is going on. Now they are realizing, Hindus are realizing, we should not quarrel among ourselves. We should all be one together. Okay. Now, the first school we have discussed. Now, the second school we discussed is about the Bhamati. Tatraiva matantaran tannirakaranancha. I proceed with that. Now, the Bhamatikara says, Anyetu ahuhu rajatadyadhyasanam anarthakaritva abhavadeva abhavat amumeva prakrutamitaretaradhyasam avidyeti manyante. See, this is a too much stretched, it looks very, very, very odd and far-fetched interpretation of this Bhamatikara. Bhamatikara is considered as a Vachaspati, is the greatest scholar. Great scholar. He has been revered as a great scholar in North India and by South India and all over India. Now, his interpretation, you see, why Bhashyakara called why Bhashyakara called Adhyasa as avidya. First explanation was, first school, Vivarana school was telling that Adhyasa is not a cause of samsara. Adhyasa is not the cause of evil. Only Mula Vidya is the cause of evil. Therefore, Mula Vidya is responsible for samsara. Therefore, Adhyasa, no, sorry, Ulta I am talking, and I repeat it. I just I cancel it what I told. I am telling in reverse. Somebody came, I had to look at him, so I just got disturbed. Mula Vidya, of course, although Mula Vidya is avidya, real avidya, see their explanation. Although Mula Vidya is real avidya, yet Shankara calls Adhyasa alone is avidya, because in deep sleep, although Mula Vidya is present, it is not causing samsara. Only when it modifies into Adhyasa, then only it causes samsara. Therefore, Shankara is talking Adhyasa is avidya, but He only said it. He only said Adhyasa is avidya, but he didn't mean it. In his mind, Mula Vidya alone is Adhyasa. This is the explanation he gave it. We dismissed it. Siddhanti has dismissed it. This is far-fetched. Nowhere it exists, and nowhere in the Prasthanatrayi he is told it. Okay? This is Yukti Viruddha, Anubhava Viruddha. Nowhere you find it in Shankara Bhashya. It is ridiculous. Because the whole Shankara's description of Adhyasa gets neglected. If Adhyasa, if Mula Vidya is the real Avidya, then why should he discuss Adhyasa at all? He could have told directly Mula Vidya and said, ignore Adhyasa. So that explanation is not acceptable. Now coming to the second school called Bhamati school. Now you know what Bhamati school explains? It is still strange and funny. Strange, very strange. You know what he says? Why Shankaracharya calling Adhyasa is avidya? That is because, see his explanation. There are adhyasas of rope is mistaken for snake. This is adhyasa. There are many events in our life, many illustrations of misunderstandings in life. And he says, rope mistaken for snake, seashell mistaken for silver, or a pillar in the semi-darkness appears as a human being on the roadside. Like this, we have got many misunderstandings in life. Now Shankaracharya wants to say, Atmanatmanor itaretara adhyasa alone is avidya, not the worldly instances of vidya. Worldly instances of adhyasa is not avidya. See, worldly instance of adhyasa is not adhyasa. Atmanubhava adhyasa alone is avidya. Worldly instances are not called avidya. This is what he see. This is again strange explanation of Bhamati school. Okay. Prakrutam itaretara adhyasam avidya iti manyante iti. Swamiji says, this school, this explanation is further silly. It looks too childish. When we are talking of Atma Jnanam, Atma Adhyasa, Anubhava Adhyasa is avidya. He says that he told this avidya, it doesn't mean really. See, he touched Anubhava Adhyasa as avidya only to show that Laukika Adhyasas are not avidya. See, is this the explanation? Does anybody has a doubt that this worldly event of Adhyasa is avidya? Does anybody think like that? Does anybody get a doubt like that? See, where there is a doubt, then alone you, to avoid that misunderstanding, you give this explanation. When there is no chance of misunderstanding, why do you give such an explanation? So Bhamatikara's explanation is far-fetched again. So this is also not acceptable. Okay, I'll just say tadapi nacharu, because kohi bruyat rajatadhyasa nabhavantanarthakarina iti. He says the rope mistaken for silver, rope mistaken for snake, and seashell mistaken for snake. These adhyasas are not anarthakari. They are not evils. They don't cause evil. Only this Atmadhyasa alone calls evil. Therefore, he told Adhyasa is avidya. See, for calling Adhyasa is avidya, what kind of funny explanation this Bhamatikara gives. Now Swamiji says, why do you say that the snake, the mistaken snake and mistaken silver is not anarthakari? Why do you think? Even that causes anartha. Prasiddham hi loke shuktikayam rajatamattasya. See, if a person takes a seashell as a silver, definitely he is confused. He will run after it and and he will be disappointed later. He will be disappointed. Therefore, prasiddham hi loke shuktikayam rajatamadhyasya rajatarthi tadakrushtachetastatra tadadanaya pravartate. This person, after mistaking the seashell for silver, thinking that it is real silver, he rushes towards it to own up to acquire that silver. Okay. Now, is it not samsara? When you are attracted to it and you believe that there is real silver and go there to catch it. Okay, therefore bhagneschascha dukkham prapnoti iti, and he thinks that it is a real silver and goes there, approaches and takes it in his hand. Oh, you understand, this is not silver, this is something else looking like silver. Okay, is it not happening in our life? Therefore laukika adhyasas are not evil. This is wrong explanation of Bhamati. Every misunderstanding is a cause of an evil. This is a general. Anything you misunderstand, it gives rise to some pain, some sorrow, some failure. Prasiddhancha swapne. Okay. Rajvamcha sarpa madhyasya tam hatukamaha palayate bhita bhita iti. Seeing the snake on the rope, oh, he shouts and runs away. Shouting that, oh, snake, snake, snake. Shouting that it is a snake, he runs away from the place. Don't you see, this is the samsara. Any misunderstanding gives rise to samsara. Therefore, their explanation, they're trying to defend it, is just very silly. Rajvamcha sarpa madhyasya tam hatukamaha palayate bhita bhita ichi. Mistaking rope for snake. Once he sees it is a snake, ayyo, he is afraid of the snake and runs away. Okay. Bhita bhitaha is afraid and runs away. Prasiddhancha swapne jagaritatva madhyasya swapna drishta vidananartham bhajate iti shatravo samagatya. A little more complicated discussion. I think we will discuss later. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.